Fans, we are live on thehannibaltv.com once again with another edition of the Shooting from the Hip podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and I am joined today by the man who is known as the King of the Streets, Kingpin, Angel Medina. How are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good, man. I was just wondering, how come we never have like intro music? You know, like old Canada or like a Canada Dry commercial or something coming up to start the show off.
You know why? Because we go against the grain here. We are the trendsetter in terms of bucking the trend. I am known also as the no gimmicks guy because I don't use gimmicks. So we just put it out there to the people in the way that it should be, which is no zabada, just straight hardcore talk. How's that?
No, I like the no zabada, you know.
No zabada. Well, we have a ton to get to today. Of course, the topic is one that has been eliciting a lot of feedback on social media, and it's those viewers of the Hannibal TV and Cheap Heat Productions know that I am a huge fan of the golden age of tag team wrestling, and I often decry the lack thereof, so to speak, in the modern era. But we're going to be looking at some of, and this is, of course, a debatable topic, the most memorable tag teams in the history of the business. But before we get to that, another hot topic, that being the status of Ric Flair Woo energy drink review from yourself, man. What's going on with that? And there he is. I like that at the start, actually.
But you know, the messed up part, nothing major about Woo energy drink. It's just that they didn't deliver on my drink. Apparently, they FedEx Express it was en route, and I just kept checking on it, and then unfortunately they said like the package was damaged and they had to discard it, and then we had to reach out to the shipper, you know, to tell them about the, you know, what happened. But I was just like, I was a little bit annoyed because what happened was that I tried to reach out to them. They, you know, when you go to their website, there's no like 1-800 number. It's a email or like one of those like contact, you know, boxes where you put your name, your phone number, and your email, and then you make a comment. And I couldn't get a hold of them. So I was like, God damn, I'm just getting worked. And so then what I did was I found them on Instagram, and I reached out to them on Instagram, and then they gave me an email to reach out to the guy. And the guy reached out to me saying, hey, sorry, Monday or Tuesday, he's going to put in a request. But it'll be shipped out either Monday or Tuesday.
Well, let's hope that that the shipment comes unmolested this time, and we can give the fans what they want, as there's actually quite a lot of interest in your take on the Ric Flair energy drink. So maybe you can try Woo Wings next. Have you seen that gimmick?
No, I haven't seen Woo Wing the snacks. Ric Flair too?
Yeah, he's got a in several cities. I'm not sure off the top of my head which ones he does. He has what's called a virtual restaurant, and has his trademark Woo on wings as well. So maybe that could be next. You could be on to something here. A review. Kingpin reviews and gives his seal of approval, so to speak.
You said this is a restaurant?
It's a virtual restaurant. So I think it runs through one of the delivery services. And they deliver the wings to your place.
Oh, I see. Let me see. Woo Wings?
That's it.
How the hell do they ship them? Frozen?
I'm sure they have them frozen, and they boom, 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 and then deliver them there. But Ric Flair says in the commercial that it's legendary flavors and world championship wings. So that should be enough right there, shouldn't it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Right now I'm looking at the website and I'm seeing like, okay, how does this work? But now I'm definitely going to take a look and see. Maybe I'll have some wings delivered. You know,
You know what? That would be excellent, and get a review of that. But let's hope that the energy drink comes, because I'm personally really looking forward to that. Let's go to the next item of news, which I know is near and dear to your heart, so to speak, and that is that Sabu, at age 59, has announced that he is going to have one more match in 2024. What are your thoughts on that? Opponent to be determined, et cetera, but go out with a bang, which I found kind of surprising, considering the number of surgeries he's had in recent years.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty happy about Sabu. You know, not that he's retiring, that he's still active, and especially with all the injuries that he had. You know, like I said, I like Sabu. He's cool as fuck. 59 years old. I figured he'd be doing like the Sheik and just wrestle until he can't wrestle no more. But I wonder what he's gonna do after retirement. You know, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I don't know what he does in his personal life. You know, but if he has any other interests or any other investments that he could, you know, just like Ric Flair with his wings, you know, Sabu's Cajun Shack, or I don't know, but you don't know. But the one thing that is really surprising is, like I said, he's retiring, but he's going to announce his one more match. But I wonder where he's going to do it, and I'm surprised he's not doing it in Canada. That would have been a definitely good thing going. He should do it like a. He should do like you know, like a tour, like the
retirement tour. I would most definitely be interested in that. So if Terry, you happen to be listening, please hit me up, because we are on the precipice of a huge 2024 for Great North Wrestling, and that's a good segue. I announced on social media this afternoon the second date thus far in our schedule, which ironically is before the big show coming June the 29th to the Strathcona Paper Center in Napanee, Ontario, and that is being called Great North Wrestling Schools Out Slam. Those tickets will be available soon through ticketweb.ca. And I'm also pleased to once again announce that on that card, we will be having the final match of Mario Mancini, the legendary Mario Mancini, who debuted so many great wrestlers in WWF back in the day, including The Undertaker. He will be wrestling his final match on that card, and will be bringing several of the standouts of Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, his company with the legendary Paul Roma, he of the Young Stallions, Power and Glory, and Pretty Wonderful. They will be in attendance, and we are going to do some serious business there. Speaking of which.
But wait, before you go any further, what kind of matches is he going to have? Is it like a oxygen tank on a pole match, or, you know?
The man is only 57 years old, and I'm telling you, he is training, and he's going to prove the critics wrong, that he still has one more great match left in him. Fans, if you haven't already, subscribe to thehannibaltv.com on YouTube, and we will keep you updated on that front in terms of that card. I will say this, though.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most anticipated rematches in wrestling, independent wrestling, certainly in Ontario, in this territory, will happen on the card in Napanee. And that will be the return match for the Canadian heavyweight title between the champion, Magnum McLaren, of the Big Money Players, and that rotten, cheating, disgusting rule breaker, Rene Dupree. And Rene, if you're watching this, and I know you do, know that I'm not giving you this rematch because you want it. I'm giving it to you because we have a score to settle, son. And that is you assaulting me brutally with that briefcase, breaking my briefcase, and concussing me. So you're going to want to train and train hard. I know you've got $1 million body, big man. You look tremendous, but you better bring your A game, because this could not only be the rematch, it could be your final match. And you know, Jack Kilby and the big money players, we always come prepared. So you think you bled last time, you ain't seen nothing yet. So we'll have more information about that in the weeks and months to come. But back to today's announcement. That is our 16th anniversary show in Ottawa, Ontario at the Earl Armstrong Arena. The date, April 27th. And I am pleased to be able to announce the main event of that show will be a Falls Count Anywhere Fans Bring the Weapons match. And it will feature ECW original legend Jack Victory against an opponent that I'm not liberty to disclose right now, but has been away from the scene for a long time, but is a legendary, and no, it's not Angel on that one. Right. Cookie Monster there, to quote GGP. But a man who has been away from the scene for a while, but he is truly a Canadian legend and one that will not disappoint. The true fans of Great North Wrestling will be very pleased with this, and it's going to be wild. The show is called GNW 16th Anniversary Ottawa Anarchy. Tickets for that are on sale right now at ticketweb.ca. So again, stay tuned to thehannibaltv.com, and we will continue to provide information about that card. And that's just the start of the big year that we have planned in Great North Wrestling in 2024. What do you think about that, Angel?
Well, I was just listening. I mean, I'm just listening because I'm just awed that, you know, you're having all these matches. There's a lot of exciting card that you're having set up. Rene Dupree, Jack Victory. I know Sabu is not on the roster, but it's just him retiring. Just so many things that is just happening that is just astronomical. I think it's awesome.
And before we get into the tag team discussion, there is also another big anniversary coming up. And you know what that is, do you not, my friend?
No.
That is the 11th, and you do, you're kayfabing, the 11th anniversary of your major victory at the Hardcore Road Trip event in London, Ontario, where you won that title that you successfully defended the next year against a couple of challengers, and you still have to this day. We are going to do a special show to commemorate that anniversary and talk about what could be in the future.
Absolutely. Am I going to be carried to the ring like Haku when he was King Haku and just...
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Who did you defeated Too Cold Scorpio for the title in the first... Yeah.
That was at the
end. Great match.
Yeah, me and Too Cold. It was an awesome match. I mean, I really pulled it out. I mean, I was going against a lot of individuals. I know. I mean, it was just a stacked card. You know, like I said, I mean, I stuck to my guns. I stayed focused, and you know, I didn't have any doubt in myself. But it was a tough situation wrestling these great legends. You know.
Mm-hmm. I remember in the 2014 event, you had one heck of a very stiff match with Rhino. Would you be interested in finally giving him the shot at that belt, that rematch, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wrestling Rhino, man, was awesome, bro. I mean, but the problem is the only reason he couldn't beat me is because he couldn't hook the leg because he has those short arms. So couldn't get the legs and hook him because you got those T-Rex arms. No, but I love that dude, man. He's like an awesome wrestler. I would definitely give him an opportunity to get another shot at the title. You know, the guy still got, you know, gas in the tank. He's still moving around. I still see him, like right now I just saw him, like I think at TNA. He's always doing something. He's always staying active. So I mean, he's still in phenomenal shape. So yeah, absolutely. One more fight with him would just definitely put another notch in my belt.
And if I remember correctly, that match ended when you drove him through a table and pinned him, and he was unable to
kick out.
I was right at ringside for that doing security, and I remember it was one heck of an impact. So I'm sure he would probably jump at the chance to at least even the score in that regard.
Absolutely, man. And he was the smartest wrestler there. He got paid. He requested his money up front. So he lucked out.
Absolutely.
He lucked out.
Nobody else got paid, including myself. So
But he got paid.
And you. Yeah, that was tremendous.
Well,
let's hope that if and when that match comes together in the future, it will be certainly, I can guarantee it will be a different outcome in terms of compensation of those involved in the card. Let's turn our attention to.
But before you go any further, the problem with that situation is now, not now, but now it puts a little bit of like, when people mention Canada, nothing bad, but just like, hey man, you want to work in Canada? And they go, can I get them half up front? Because now with that bad taste in people's mouth, I'm not saying people will screw them, but now they're like, I need to get at least half up front before I even decide to get, before I get on the plane. Because of what he did, he just set that fucked up precedent,
Well, yeah, not only in terms of pay, but which we'll talk about in detail on the upcoming podcast, but the fact that guys were stranded and had, trans was supposed to be covered, blah, 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 and they had no way to get home because the individual promoter who went by, from what I understand, to be a gimmick name, left during, I think it was before the main event or in and around there with a alleged medical issue, and then disappeared.
Yeah, a heart attack or something like that. Yeah, he disappeared. I mean, he really took off. But like I said, even though it was a bad experience, it also had its blessings when you really seen that the fans really got together and, and helped the wrestlers get to where they needed to get to, the hotel or airport, or if they were flying out the next day. I mean, I had no problem in regards to like my hotel. It's just like, how was I going to get to the London airport and stuff like that? And you start thinking like, maybe he canceled the ticket, maybe he, I mean, I don't know how much you can get your money back, but then you start getting all those crazy things in your head, like, oh man, what if I can't fly out? What happened? What's going to happen? And say, but anyway, but again, since the fans stepped to the plate and really helped the boys out, it just really meant a lot to us.
Yeah, and I think it left quite a big impression on me in terms of how not to promote and how to be straight up with people and be a person of your word. And it's unfortunate that all that chicanery at the end overshadowed what were just tremendous independent wrestling events. That talent both years was absolutely phenomenal. And if you talk to Steven DeAngelis, the ECW ring announcer who was the booker for both those shows, they had big plans that unfortunately, due to the alleged criminality or maybe not alleged, of the promoter in question, all failed. But hopefully with you coming to GNW in 2024, we can add a new chapter to that with a straight up and successful title defense, because you never defended that title after that, did you?
No, after that title defense, the strap came home and I never got back on a plane to come back to Canada. I filled my bag up with those big hunk bars and some aero bars, and I took off, and stuff. But like I said, man, it is what it is. It's a story that you could always talk about. There's the good, there's the bad, but a little bit more good. Like I said, like that's why I like the Canadian fans. Like I said, they didn't leave us stranded. They really helped us out. So that put a lot of like a little bit of like excitement, that the fans helped us out. So I have nothing but respect for the fans in Canada. Even if I turn heel, even if I turn babyface, I'll always have respect for the Canadian people.
Yeah, that was the one big plus out of the whole thing. It's that the fans automatically were, how can we help? How can we help? And in fact, provided transportation to the border from London to get folks home. So it's going to be an interesting year all the way around for Great North Wrestling in 2024, and you're just starting to get some of the announcements that we have planned. But moving on to the most memorable tag teams, and this will be kind of this is always a question that's up for debate, but I would like to start it off with your thoughts on the Road Warriors.
I mean, all the stories I heard about the Road Warriors, nothing negative, nothing positive. They were awesome tag team when I was growing up. They had the great music, the great face paint, the intimidation factor, but hearing stories of like they used to beat the tar out of people, in the ring, that they were stiff, again, I never had that experience with them, so I can't speak on that. But I just heard a lot of stories. But again, they're one of the greatest tag teams of all times. I still remember I could close my eyes when NWA had the 6-man tag team championship, and it was Dusty Rhodes with the Road Warriors, and Dusty was painted up, with the face paint. So, I mean, they left a mark in this business. They are legends. They're memorable. And regardless of what they did in WWE or What a Rush and all that stuff, what caught my eye on them is when they were in the NWA, because the NWA was not about cartoon characters. So when the Road Warriors were in, then that's why I liked NWA more than I liked WWE or F at the time, because all those characters that they were portraying made it more realistic, more believable, compared to we snack on danger, dine on death, or What a Rush. It was hokey a little bit, but like I said, my favorite moments of the Road Warriors is during that time in the NWA.
Yeah, and they still use the term to this day, Road Warrior Pop, for how over they were, and really revolutionized, tag team wrestling coming into Georgia in the early 80s. They were one of a kind, and how many imitators did they spawn over the years? So I think that says a lot as to their influence.
What would have been cool, man, if they would have had the three-man tag team in WWE, and they could have had like Hulk, Animal, get Ahmed Johnson in there, call him Gorilla.
Mm-hmm. No, he was talking about Mark Henry in that discussion, I think.
Okay,
that one.
Yeah. No, yeah. But I'm just making a joke that because he's black and he looks like a gorilla. But like I said, I mean, like I said, Road Warriors are just a staple in wrestling history that will always be remembered. So it sucked that they passed away too soon. They could have done a lot more in this business, especially behind the scenes, to help other wrestlers. But again, they left a lot of history and a lot of matches that you could watch and learn from those.
Yeah, Ahmed spoke very highly of his time teaming with the Road Warriors. Said they were, very, very, very professional with him and easy to work with. So, yeah, I don't think a discussion about modern tag teams anyway would be complete without starting with them.
Well, the funny thing about Ahmed is that I was watching the Dutch Mantel situation where he was just shitting on him, and I mean, I'm not a big fan of Ahmed Johnson. No heat. No, it's just he was never one of my guys. Like, ooh, I can't wait to see him at the Garden or stuff. But for it's just Dutch Mantel, man. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit. When I heard he was on when he was on his deathbed, he was 50-50. To live and survive. I was praying, praying that it went to the side when he went to the dark side. I mean, the day I'm telling the fans here, I don't give a fuck if you send it to him. The day he fucking dies, I would take a first class plane ticket to go to his funeral and fucking just lean in that coffin. Fuck you, bitch.
Wow, that's nuclear heat.
That's nuclear heat, man. Fuck him. I can't stand that motherfucker. But anyway, for him to talk that way, he talks about shit about everybody. Like he's the king just because he's Jerry Lawler's cousin or whatever, and he thinks that he's he knows all, man. I have no respect for the man. I don't give a fuck.
Well, in terms of revolutionizing tag team wrestling, I think the next team certainly fit that definition in terms of their daredevil style and those really iconic TLC matches that they had with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, and that would of course be Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boyz, who have fallen on some hard times recently in AEW. But all that aside, what are your thoughts on their contribution?
Now, just curiosity, are you going from like the past to the present? Like, are you talking about Road Warriors number 1, Road Warriors number 2, or from 10 to 1, or just
no rank in particular? Okay. Just memorable tag teams, and the fans have. We've got a couple of inputs here. The fans have contributed theirs too.
Well, I mean, the Hardy Boyz, one of the best. One again, another tag team that etched their career in professional wrestling. Like I said, it's sad to see, and I hate talking like that because I'm not shitting on them, but I've been watching those videos where Jeff is slipping and just because he did all those high spots, those great high spots, and then when he tried to do it again, he slips or he's not getting the elevation that he used to get. That's the fear I have about professional wrestling, because you feel like you can still do it. If you say, man, I'm still 219, just making that up. I'm still 219. I'm still the same. But it's a weird thing that you do lose a step, because I remember when I wrestled one time, I used to do this move that was guaranteed. I always did it. And then when I did it when I, like in my 40s, and I couldn't get the elevation. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what. And I did it the same way I always did it, but I lost my ups, if you may say. I can't slam dunk that ball. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they're just, they're making their money. They're riding that wave, but it's a little bit disappointing watching those videos. I know they're just clips and stuff, but just those clips speak for themselves when you see those type of situations where they jump in the air. Like I said, it's just pretty sad, And again, I'm not shitting on them. It's just that I have so much respect for them, and they made a lot of contributions in professional wrestling. That's one of my fears, that when people expect you to be that person and you can't deliver, sometimes it's a little bit heartbreaking.
Well, and especially complicated by those insane
clown posse.
Insane. Karma.
No, it's an insane clown posse. Anyway.
No. But good one. The bumps that they took with ladders and heights, et cetera, and then how hard Jeff Hardy went in TNA. It's a wonder the man is still ambulatory, actually.
But do you see the difference between like wrestling? And again, when you become a high flyer, fans expect you to always top the last thing you did. When you're like a grounded wrestler, when I say grounded, I'm talking like the Arn Andersons, Tully Blanchard, FTR, where you just boom, boom, punching like a Dick Slater. Where
Minnesota
Wrecking Crew, when you're known for the brawls and the scientific wrestling that you could still perform, but you don't have to go on the top rope and do moonsaults. You don't have to go on top rope and do, suicide dives and stuff. Now you're just known for your Arn Anderson type of style, brawling and just working. And that's why a lot of the older guys, are able to continue their career to a certain age, because those guys who are just doing those crazy flips, one day you can't do it no more, and fans are going to be like, oh man, I paid money to see him do this, like AJ Styles jumping off the, springboard Superman punch thing. One day he won't be able to do it. He won't be able to hit it, so that's the only thing.
And there's nothing wrong with, modifying your style. These people that we're talking about that are still active, they're over, they're legends. They don't have to do that stuff. So there's some wisdom into extending your career by not, but obviously Matt and Jeff didn't.
Dusty Rhodes, man. I mean, punch, elbow. You know what I mean? Like he could still continue doing that all the way to like the 70s, his 70s, he doesn't have to go up to the top rope. And the only way they went to the top rope, and it was like, climb to the top rope, and the guy runs and punches him, and he's like, no, and then he throws him off. And you can still do that. But when it comes to those other, bigger high spots, then that's the situation where it's like,
Yeah, and at the opposite end of the spectrum, the next team I'd like to talk about is the Rock and Roll Express. They had chemistry. They had, the thrilling tag team moves with Morton selling and Gibson coming in, making the tag. Like Morton, who gets credit for being, one of the top sellers of all time, the biggest, one of the biggest baby faces, but up maybe not now, but up until the last year or two, they were still active as a tag team, and you never saw them go through light tubes or dive off a 50-foot ladder or any of that stuff.
But they kept it simple. But the funny thing is that when I remember the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton was the one that stood out for me. I mean, like I say, he sold great. He did awesome interviews. He was believable. He had drive. He had conviction when he cut his promos. Gibson. He just never stood out for me because, like I said, Ricky Morton was just a different type of category of wrestler. Again, they made a great tag team. It's just that I always watched Ricky Morton, especially when he had that match with Ric Flair in the steel cage match, where supposedly he broke his nose and he had the face mask on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was awesome. That was an awesome match, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only bit about any of his singles runs, including that one, is I thought he was way too small to be a world champion, but that's that 80s mindset again, I guess. I never bought him as carrying the belt at that time, but of course we've had some wrestlers on the smaller side now as world champions. And the rumor has it, speaking of Ric Flair again, that he is in training for yet another retirement match, and the opponent that he wants is Ricky Morton.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, his first retirement match was just really hard to watch, especially when you know Ric Flair. I wouldn't risk it. I'm not knocking the guy. I mean, if you want to die doing something you love, then I guess that's wrestling. But I just don't want him, you know, I just don't see it, you know. Can't take the face bumps, can't take the big moves. I mean, to me, it just looks like there's another payday. Yeah,
and that Ric Flair's last match card from 2021 was an excellent card that was only blighted by that main event, in my opinion. So let's hope Rick sticks to Woo Wings and energy drinks.
Yeah, and another thing, I looked at the Woo Wings; they don't deliver. Only
in your area.
Yeah, and the restaurants are like associated with certain restaurants like pizzerias and stuff like that. So it's not like an actual Ric Flair restaurant.
No, it's a virtual restaurant, they call it. But you know what? Maybe we could work something out and have them FedExed or something like that in a sealed envelope so that they would still be hot when they got to your door.
But, why? Like my energy drinks?
Yeah. Let's hope there's a different outcome there. But moving on, next team, ones that you know very well that are also, well, at least one member talking about another run on social media, and that would be Bubba Ray and Devon, the Dudley Boyz.
Who?
The Dudley Boyz. Bubba's been on social media saying, "What do you think? One more run?"
Oh, you know, I always give Devon crap. I mean, Devon's you know, the one thing about Devon that I know, he never wrestled the Kingpin. For all the years I know him, for all the times we wrestled at Gleason's, we never crossed paths because he knew. He knew. We were supposed to wrestle in Canada.
Yeah, on the second show. Yeah.
And guess what? He pulled out because he knew. He knew. He just looked at the window and just like, he smelled it in the air. He thought it was like an apple pie, but he knew that the heat was coming. So and that's why he pulled out. You know, he don't want the Latin sensation. He don't want the suntan Superman coming down on him hard. You know, I would love to wrestle Devon one more time, but not even one more time, just one time. You know, but you know, once he gets a taste of, you know, like I said, suntan Superman all day, every day, he just didn't want to just lose to me. Because you know why?
Or he was on the way to the airport and didn't get his deposit and pulled out, which should have been a major red flag for the entire show.
You could defend him. You could say he didn't get his money. He missed the flight. You know, he thought it was the next day. But all we could say is right here on this show, and still hardcore road trip champion. He could have had an opportunity to take it off my waist. He had an opportunity. I gave him all the respect in the world to try to take it, but he just realized he couldn't do it. You know, he knew he was losing a step or two. He is older than me, you know.
That's a beautiful belt too. Maybe you can show the folks at home that full faceplate. I
Man,
will give the guy credit. He made a very nice belt. Look at that.
oh, it's a beautiful belt, man. I mean, you can't go wrong, you know. This is my consolation prize of not getting my money and stuff. But you know what? Maybe I should send it to you so you could touch it up. You know, get some. You know, it still needs some paint, some certain areas that needs to be touched up. You know, so we can have it prepared for that special day
when you drop it. So
on the floor, maybe.
Back to the Dudley Boyz, you have to give credit where credit's due. One of the most successful tag teams of all time.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I cannot take it away from the Dudley Boyz. You know, I've seen them from the beginning all the way to the end. You know, awesome tag team, all respect. You know, always give Devon crap. And Devon always took care of me. Devon was one of those class act wrestlers that never forgot where he came from. You know, he always treated everybody with respect. He didn't have an ego. He still reaches out to me, wishes me a Merry Christmas or stuff like that. And I reciprocate too, you know, but he doesn't believe his own hype. You know, he knows that he was blessed with opportunities and, you know, he worked hard and, you know, but he knew. Devon told me one thing, like, the same people you meet on the way up is the same people you meet on the way down. So he knew that you always got to treat everybody with the utmost respect because, you know, you never know where they're going to be.
Well, let's see if they do have one last great run.
If they do have one last great one, why don't you just book it in the Canadian show and have me face Devon with Bubba? Because I know the Bubba's, I mean, I've seen him lately and he won't be able to lift me up to do the 3D. I think he'll blow a knee out. But so I know for a fact, yo, put it in writing, man. Get us in there, man. I would love to, give Devon the right. Bubba could take the left, you know?
Or maybe have that first ever singles match with Devon. We'll talk further on that one. Next team, of course, being Canadian myself, how could we not include the Hart Foundation on this list? Bret, the Hitman Hart, and Jim, the Anvil Neidhart, the late great Jim Neidhart, who also had one heck of a successful career during a time when there were so many tremendous tag teams active.
Yeah, I mean, the Hart Foundation, again, one of the greatest tag teams at the time. I mean, I still remember him with against the British Bulldogs, the Fabulous Rougeaus. You know what? Forget that. The Fabulous Rougeaus, I think it's right here, man. Like I told you, I'm a huge mark for flag shit, little flag gimmick.
Yeah, I brought that up when I talked to Jacques last week on
you
Productions.
Told him that I was a huge mark for that gimmick?
No, I said, who came up with the idea for the heat seeking little tiny flags? And he said the heel turn and the persona and the flags, that was all Vince McMahon, but in collaboration with himself and his brother.
Like I said, it's awesome, man. I could never. And that's another tag team that, you know, could still wrestle to this day because they don't have to do those crazy aerial moves. You know, they save their bodies. But anyway, back to the Hart Foundation, one of the greatest tag teams, you know, with the Heart Attack and, you know, phenomenal matches and memorable matches. You know, you can't go wrong, especially with Jimmy Jimmy Hart as their manager. Like I said, man, they were tag team champions. You know, Bret had the greasy hair, you know, the leather jacket. You know, it was really like, especially when he leaned back and Anvil went and took off the shades. I mean, you know, that was classy, man.
Psychology, great psychology, great match construction. I had the fortunate circumstance of catching the Hart Foundation a couple times as a kid live at Maple Leaf Gardens, and definitely memorable and rightfully in the Hall of Fame. And no disrespect to the Rougeaus, I put them on that pedestal as well. And let's hope, as we talked about with Jacques last week, that they are overdue for an induction in the WWE Hall of Fame. Let's hope that comes together this year because they certainly certainly deserve it, amongst some other. And Jacques was very self-deprecating when we talked about it. He said not only the Rougeaus, but Rick Martel and several other Canadian standouts are also overdue.
Well, the only problem with Rick Martel, man, he just had too much arrogance.
The Cologne?
Yeah, just joking.
What a tremendous repackaging that was. To go from straight-laced,
hairy
athletic,
chest,
good guy Rick Martel to the model. Man.
Yeah, he turned on Tito Santana when they were Strikeforce.
Yes.
When he turned
yes. And that was very memorable too.
I don't remember the match though. I don't remember. I just remember in my head, if I close my eyes, I just remember the heel turn, but I can't remember who they wrestling. And I'm gonna look it up.
I think it was at WrestleMania with Demolition. Mm-hmm. Although I could be wrong. I think Strikeforce lost, and or Rick Martel walked out on Tito, and Tito got hit with the cane, broken over him. 1, 2, 3. I'm probably off there a little bit, but
I thought that Rick Martel, Tito went for the fucking flying burrito. I don't even remember what the fuck he called it, and he hit him in the and then the guy dropped, and he hit Rick Martel.
Yeah. And then Martel walked out and left him to.
Oh yeah, because I remember he was like, I remember he did the. He was walking away,
and then he walked out. But Rick Martel doesn't do a lot in the wrestling industry anymore. I know a lot of fans of the Hannibal TV are asking if we could get an interview with him, and that would certainly be one that I would most enjoy.
That was I'm gonna look it up. WrestleMania 5. So
yes.
So we could go look at WrestleMania 5. You know what? We should do a watch along one time and discuss one of those like tag team moments and see and just talk about it. I think it'd be fun.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Speaking of great tag teams to watch, the next one I have on the list is the Midnight Express. Either Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey, or Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton. And I fall in the camp of Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton. I
fall in the camp of the Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton. I just think because that's all I knew. I didn't know when I got to know about the Midnight Express, it was with Stan Lane. I wasn't aware about the other guy because when I was hooked, I was watching them versus the Fantastics, and that's the thing that really stood out for me. So when I think of the Rock and Roll Express, I mean not Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, those are the individuals that wrong thing. But sorry, I was sending you something. But yeah, I mean that team in scaffold match when they did the scaffold matches and shit. I mean, they're just phenomenal.
What about that rivalry that got cut short with Tully and Arn as the Horsemen? They had, I guess they built it up, and then the contract situation with Jim Herd caused the Tully and Arn to leave, and they had one match in Philly where they dropped the belt, and that was that. There was multiple dollars left on the table between the Midnight Express and Tully and Arn in a prolonged program.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know why that happened. I want to look in on that to get an understanding of what went wrong.
They were very, very stiffed on the payout, and I think Blanchard described it as they had a match with the Road Warriors in Chicago, and it was supposed to be $1 million deal, $1 million gate, and they were paid less than JJ Dillon as the manager, and he went to Crockett and said, "Where do you want the belts?" And then they dropped them in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I never knew about that.
Yeah, that's it. No, not an honorable mention, but I think Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson were a supreme tag team, not only as the Horsemen but the Brainbusters. But they didn't have the length of run that some did that would make them on that upper echelon. But certainly, definitely Hall of Fame worthy. I agree with you though on the Midnight Express. I was unaware when I first got NWA JCP that Condrey was even a part of the team until he showed up in the AWA with Randy Rose and started calling themselves the original Midnight Express with Paul E. Dangerously as their manager. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember that, but that really didn't. I don't know. It didn't really do it much for me. It was it was horrible, man. That's why I'm stuttering. It was just not a good.
Except when they went to the NWA and attacked Jim Cornette, and he did that tremendous blade job after getting smashed with Paulie's phone. That was some compelling television, to say the least.
Oh yeah, he cut deep. That motherfucker went deep. You know,
we've touched briefly on the Bulldogs. We've touched on Edge and Christian, but what about one of my favorite tag teams of all time, and the ones that are on the graphic for this show? That would be Rick and Scott, the Steiner Brothers.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, that was a very awesome tag team, especially when Rick was part of the Varsity Club. I used to watch him when he was on Varsity Club with
Mike Rotunda.
Mike Rotunda, and then it was Dr. Dev Steve Williams and stuff. But Varsity Club was the bomb. But when he tagged with his brother, especially with Scott doing all those crazy, the Frankensteiner. There's one move I saw just recently where he was in Japan, picked up the guy, and then boom, did a pile driver.
Steiner screwdriver.
Yeah, that I would have, dude. That's all you need. One little tweak, and your whole career was over. But he protected the guy. But you really putting your life in that person's hands, especially when you have no control of how you're gonna fall. He has all control.
Yeah, and Jim Ross described them as two sacks of concrete, and I've talked to a lot of guys, especially the enhancement star maker guys, and they, despite the reputation for being stiff, almost all of the guys that I spoke with said that they were, although they were snug, they took care of you, and they weren't, like Leon Vader and intentionally trying to hurt people.
Well, you don't want to break your toys, man. When you're playing, you don't want to break your toys because you don't want that reputation. I never heard anything negative from about the Steiner Brothers, how they worked and stuff like that. I know they were snug wrestlers and stuff, and I wrestle snug. Once you have an understanding of how they are in the ring, like Tuco, the strong style, but I didn't know until I got a little taste of that boot. And Rob Van Dam, strong style. Once you get an understanding of how they work, then you can adapt. So.
Fan is asking, what about RVD and Sabu? What about
them?
In terms of memorable tag teams, did you ever face them, the Baldies, against them?
No, I wrestled the ball. It was the Baldies versus RVD and Kid Cash.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that, but we never.
What was that like with all those high flying maneuvers?
I love wrestling Kid Cash. That dude, is a smooth worker. He's fun. I always made him laugh. RVD, I mean, good dude. Is just he's stiff. He's strong style. When he throws that kick, it's a legit kick. So you just got to be prepared. You just like that. You just always got to be prepared when he throws one of those massive kicks. You just got to protect your face.
Yeah, and I should put over the fact that RVD did an interview with Hannibal on thehannibaltv.com. Search that interview up just last week. Very, very interesting fellow on a variety of topics and not just wrestling. But
who was he interviewing? You said
Rob Van Dam.
Oh, he did. I didn't notice that. Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's worth a watch for sure.
How come you didn't do it?
Because my schedule didn't allow it at the time, and I think Hannibal has interviewed RVD several times, so they have a good rapport. In terms of the Steiner Brothers, though, before we leave them, they were so dominant in WCW. They were revolutionary. I keep throwing that term around again, but just the epitome of state-of-the-art tag team wrestling. Then they jumped to the WWF and, of course, got the belts, but didn't seem to have the impact there. One of the reasons that some guys have said is the fact that very few people wanted to wrestle them because they were stiff, except Wayne Bloom and Mike Enos when they were known as the Beverly Brothers, whom they, of course, faced in WCW as the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, too.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember their run in WWE and Money Inc., of course, that they traded the belts with?
Yeah, those motherfuckers used to throw you to the ropes and they'll pick you up on your waist, almost like a backdrop, and shoot you up, and the guy grabbed your head and rammed it into the mat. You know, I mean, the Angel now, I'm smarter now than I was then. You know, I would have been like, oh, whatever you want. You know, I'm down. You know, but now that you look at them, that they didn't care about, you know, protecting their protecting the talent. You know, they just wanted to get their spot and stuff. I always wonder whatever happened to that tag team.
Which one?
The Beverly Brothers.
I know Wayne Bloom's son is in the NXT system, and I can't remember his name, but they're on my bucket list for interviews. I was a big fan of them when they were the Destruction Crew in the AWA.
What do you call them? Destruction Crew?
Destruction Crew.
You said a crushing crew.
That's my Latin accent coming out again. They were tag team champions in the AWA.
Yeah, I remember.
And also, I couldn't understand why they were saddled with that Beverly Brothers gimmick. I know some people liked it, some don't, but I thought they were pretty marketable as is. Yeah. So
I think it was garbage.
Mike Enos went to WCW and of course was in the ring with Steve Dahl when Scott Hall made the famous came in from the crowd and took the mic and kicked off the whole NWO angle, and he wrestled single for a long time.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, Wayne the Train Bloom went into business, but yeah, definitely a bucket list interview there. But anyway, to leave the Steiners, definitely a Hall of Fame tag team. What about the New Day, who hold the record now for the longest consecutive title reign, which they usurped from Demolition, who we'll talk about?
They're funny, they're entertaining, hell of a talent, but when you put them in the category of these other legendary wrestlers, it's hard to put them side by side, you know. And again, I'm just not knocking them, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, just for their longevity and the fact that they moved merch like nobody's business, they're at least in the discussion, but I don't think down the road they will be as fondly recalled. Like, I couldn't tell you a memorable New Day match or promo. I know they came out with the cereal and they had the horn and everything, and the kids loved it, but I just don't think, 10, 15 years down the road that they'll be looked at as in the same breath as some of these people. Here's a good one I completely forgot from Portola 45. The Islanders were my fave.
I'll forget about
the Bay Area.
Yeah,
Haku and Pama.
The kid and the Tonga Kid.
Yeah. What a great heel team. Great.
Oh yeah, I mean they were great. I remember those matches, man. I mean, but Eddie Samoans, those high flying. You look at the SAT, well, not SAT, Samoan SWAT team.
Yes.
That was an awesome tag team. I mean, they're just known for that high flying, rugged, no nonsense type of brawl fighting. So yeah, I mean, the Islanders, you can't beat them. Yeah, to this day, absolutely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we'll have a bunch. I've got some honorable mentions. Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel, the Fantastics that you touched on, Doom, a really hot team for a while, Butch Reed and Ron Simmons.
Oh man, don't forget the Hollywood Blondes.
The Hollywood Blondes, Pillman and Austin. For ECW fans, the Gangstas, of course, and Smoky Mountain. But
what do you think of? Was it Terry Taylor and Ricky Morin doing the
York Foundation?
The York Foundation, was it a tag team or was it just a faction?
No, they teamed, but the most notable part about that was Terry Runnels coming out, Marlena with the word processor with no screen.
Oh yeah,
and that was giving computerized direction as to how to win the matches. So
yeah.
that was pretty interesting. I preferred during that, shortly after that era, Terry Taylor and Greg Valentine. I thought they were a good tag team and won the United States title on a couple of occasions. But last but not least, and I want to talk about your tag team experience too. What about Demolition? Two of the nicest guys in the business, Bill Eadie and Barry Darsow, and of course Crush when he was brought in. Of note, Mario Mancini just recently, we spoke of the fact that he was involved in their debut match on television in '87 with Johnny V as their manager and Randy Cully, the Moondog, as the original Smash. And then, of course, Darsow came in. But I think the argument can be made, Vince wanted to sign the Road Warriors. They weren't budging from Crockett at the time, so he came up with Demolition. But my goodness, what a legacy they have on their own, separate and distinct from the Imitator label.
No, absolutely. Especially, I mean, I wrestled Bill Eadie in my indie years, and he's a hell of a worker. Always took care of me, never hurt me. Was a professional beyond words. I never wrestled this tag team partner, Darsow. Nothing negative, nothing positive. Just never wrestled him, so I can't give you my honest opinion on what type of worker he was. But if he falls in the same category as Bill Eadie, then I think he'll take care of you as well. Just like he did, the other guy did.
And extremely popular team. Moved tons of merch and had some really great matches.
Oh, you like that Repo Man gimmick, huh?
Nah, that I didn't think that was one of Darsow's better, but at the height of Demolition, their feud with the Brainbusters for the belts. I remember that on Saturday night's main event when they dropped the belts to Tully and Arn. That was good television. And the matches that they had, against other teams at the time, the Rockers, of course, they got to be on the list there. The Midnight Rockers, the Rockers, so many. The point is, what a great period of time for tag team wrestling, which sadly isn't the same anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean, wrestling then and wrestling now are two different entities, two different eras. I mean, that's why I like to wrestle. Back then, it was like Tennessee, Kentucky, the Virginia, when the fans were just like, shit, wrestling's real, and they just believed it, man. I love Tennessee. Like there's wrestling every damn day, there was always something happening, I remember I was at a show and maybe 4 or 5 miles in the next town, there was another event going on. So it was always wrestling's always popular in Tennessee, but they're the old school cats,
Yeah, and I think before we hit the top of the hour, no discussion on tag teams with the Kingpin would be complete unless we talked about your very memorable tag team, that being the Baldies with DeVito. Now, if you could break it down into your favorite opponents or matches as that team, what would that be?
I think the best matches that we had was there's so many of them, but if one stood out and one could say it was one of my favorite, it was with me and DeVito versus RVD and Kid Cash when we were in New Hampshire, and it was just a good solid match, So, I mean, all of them were great, but like I said, the one that just stands out the most for me is that match.
What about the various matches that you had when one half of the tag team was Balls Mahoney?
Oh, with Axel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always had fun with them. They were a blast, The funny thing is, the people that you think that's not gonna hurt you, hurt you, and the people that you're like, oh, he's gonna hurt me, he didn't hurt me. Like wrestling Balls Mahoney and Axel, no problems. Besides the chair shots, but when it came to, and again, I'm not knocking it, but when it was like Roadkill or Chetty, and you're like, God damn, what did I do to you? But I love those guys, so I'm used to that. But it is funny when you just the it doesn't match. When you look at these, people working, like, oh, he works smooth, he works stiff, he works snug. The visual does not compare. You got to definitely get in the ring and feel them out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, perhaps in the future we'll hit a renaissance period for tag teams again.
Hell yeah.
But unfortunately, I think that's unlikely because it's clearly not a priority in any of the major companies, and booking tag teams on the independent circuit is doubly expensive. So you can see why that doesn't really happen as much at least in the territories that I'm familiar with, if you want to call them those. But again, in terms of entertainment value, it's hard to knock tag team wrestling. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I love tag team wrestling. I mean, it was always exciting. It was always something new, but apparently, in this business, they just want to focus on the singles matches, and I think that's sad. Like Lethal Lottery, War Games, those things are just memorable, man. So I just wish they would just reconsider doing like that focus on tag teams and just try to put them at a high level as the singles wrestling.
Yeah, but again, as you've said many times, including on this broadcast, pro wrestling now has very little relationship to what it was back in the day. Although, who knows how things are going to turn out? But Angel, before we sign off, what final thoughts do you have? We will do that Woo Energy review hopefully this week.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll be getting an email from the guy. I mean, email from the company saying they shipped it out. But I hope that they at least like, hey, let's throw a couple, another pack in there for the guy for his inconvenience, and pack it right. You're not them. I don't even know how the fuck they packed it, but they said the shit was just destroyed. I bet you what happened. I'm not gonna lie. I bet you like one can busted. Like one can busted and not the whole thing. And since it's leaking, they're like, oh, fuck it, we're tossing it. I bet you there was, so I'm just pissed off because I was so excited to get it. And me, I was sending you text messages like, oh, it's close. It's almost here,
Good tracking updates.
Oh, yeah. And I was fucking hot when they said like it was held up. And I'm like, what do you mean fuck it? They said it was out for delivery, but it said damaged. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I had to like research. And then I was trying to find the website where you click in the UPS and it said, oh, package was damaged, so it had to be discarded. Fuck you. Fuck them.
Well, when it arrives, may I suggest that we do an on-air from cracking can? No crack. Cracking the can open to the sips, and the whole experience will be captured here.
I really hope it tastes good. I saw some videos of people like, tastes like shit, but I really hope it. My experience with it is just a little bit better than everybody else's.
Well, and the fact that they say only drink one a day, I find a little ominous, but it'll be interesting to look at the ingredients in detail and most importantly, the taste and whether or not you do not have, a negative episode, either gastric wise or, in terms of your perception of reality, because there are mushrooms in it, I understand as well.
Yeah, and the one thing, like I said, the only reason I'm getting it, A, is to sample it, but B, and I hate being negative, but a lot of things that you think, oh my God, Ric Flair did this or Stone Cold did that, and you're like, and then all of a sudden, months later, they like discontinue it. So that's why I grabbed it now, because I'm not saying it's going to be discontinued, but with my luck, when I do decide to go, I'm going to get one, and they can be like, no longer available. So I'd rather just get one, save one, put it on my desk as a like a little memory thing, a little souvenir, and then the rest I'll just drink.
Well, it's probably going to be a collector's item for sure, so we'll look forward to that. But fans, that's it for this edition of the Shooting from the Hip podcast. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification button to keep up with future episodes. And we are going to put our heads together and do the big anniversary episode of your hardcore road trip win very shortly. And we will, as soon as we have a time for the big Woo Energy drink review, we'll also let you know about that. But
and also, when I do come to Canada, whatever fans want to bring me a nice Tim Horton coffee with a little bit of cream, 4 sugars, I'm a huge mark for that. I'll greatly appreciate it.
And we'll hit up Boston Pizza again, but this time it will be under different.
There was another restaurant. I forgot the name of it, man. Where I did an autograph signing. I forgot the name of the place, man. But they had this poutine. That one of the guys was like, yo, you gotta try that poutine. It's fire. And I'm like, when I tried it, it was awesome. It was we were there doing an autograph signing. I just remember we were there. Fans. It was a meet and greet. No, it was a meet and greet, and it was like a sports bar, but I don't remember the name.
Well, we have several of those, and I have full confidence that we will hit a few, and perhaps sample the poutine.
Maybe do like a food critic thing.
A live poutine review.
There you go.
It's got legs.
Yeah, man, can't go wrong, man, with poutine. It's something that's so simple. It tastes so good.
Exactly. Well, we've got a lot of good things to come in 2024. I want to thank all the fans that contribute to these episodes, sending your input, and of course, watching. And we will see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest